Now let us go to the status of the investigation today. ABC's Brian Ross is with us here in New York. Brian, pick it up on the status of today, if you would.
Peter, today the FBI released many new details about those responsible for the terrorist attacks. It says it now counts 19 hijackers. 7 of them were trained as pilots. Many of them had been living in this country for years legally in South Florida, and others had only recently arrived. The most revealing details involve those on board American Flight 11, the first to crash into the World Trade Center. According to the FBI, 2 of the hijackers were up front in seats 2A and 2B, just steps from the cockpit. Both men were trained pilots. One of them identified as Wael Ashiri, who federal authorities consider part of the Osama bin Laden terror organization.
Ashiri himself came from Saudi Arabia just 2 weeks ago, and he left behind with his family a suicide note. He had been trained in Afghanistan at a particular camp in hand-to-hand combat training, which is kind of interesting given the assignment he had, which was to board one of these planes, hijack it, and control the passengers in the cabin while others broke into the pilot's cabin.
Several rows back on Flight 11, 2 more terrorist pilots. Mohammed Atta in 8D, who trained as a pilot in Florida and was on a U.S. watch list because of suspected terrorist connections. The owner of a bar in Hollywood, Florida, has told the FBI that several nights before the attacks, Atta and a companion came in and got drunk.
He looked at me with somewhat of an arrogant look, and he reached into his pocket and he pulled out a wad of money, and he threw it on the bar, and he says, "I don't have a money issue, I'm an airline pilot."
On United Flight 175, the second to hit, the 5 terrorists included yet another Florida-trained pilot, Marwan Al-Shihi.
The fact that there were a number of individuals that happened to receive training at flight schools here is news, quite obviously. If we had understood that to be the case, we would have, perhaps one could have averted this.
The plane that crashed into the Pentagon, American Flight 77, also had 5 terrorists aboard, coming from both San Diego and the New York, New Jersey area.
This was a terrorist spectacular. I mean, basically you had 19 people who committed suicide.
And the jet that crashed in Pennsylvania, United 93, was commandeered by 4 hijackers, who also had addresses in Delray Beach, Florida, but were in fact, like most of the others, citizens of Saudi Arabia and Egypt.
These are the people that bin Laden depends on mostly, the Egyptians and the Saudis, and they comprise the majority of the inner core. Surely he expects some kind of retaliation, and I think that explains why today his followers have left the camps. The camps in Afghanistan are totally empty, and bin Laden himself has seemed to gone to ground.
Peter, now that the FBI says it knows who the hijackers was, what it wants to know now are who were those who supported them. To that end, the Attorney General today released a list to law enforcement agencies across the country of 100 people who are wanted for questioning. 100 people who, if they are found and stopped, will be detained. Peter?
Thanks, Brian. Brian Ross on the investigation.